You are watching What the Church Won't Say. I am your host, Nathaniel Plenty, and this week we will be talking and starting with the Player Chronicles. This chapter will be called The Age of Innocence. You won't want to miss this. I will be discussing my years as a youngin', being a womanizer, how that impacted my soul, what I learned along the journey, and how God delivered me from it. You're not going to want to miss this. Trust me. Stay tuned. We'll be right back at you right after this short break.
Your bricks in danger, your chicks in danger. See, he will change ya if you come hang with us. So put that weight up and get your weight up. We not haters, no, we just dangerous.
Welcome back. You are watching What the Church Won't Say, and I know you're saying, where the heck are you? Yes, I am in my bedroom because I feel like this is where my biggest downfall started, and this is only befitting that I host this episode in this room. And I want to start out by saying this scripture comes to mind, starting out with my story where the disciples are talking to Jesus, and they're talking about a man that was born blind. And they asked Jesus, they say, who sinned that this man was born blind? Was it his parents? Was it him? And Jesus said, no one sinned. That he was born blind, that the glory of God may be revealed. And sometimes when we go through adverse, dramatic things that seem to change the trajectory of our lives, the first thing we think of is that I would have been something else if this never happened to me. And the truth of the matter, some things are out of our hands. God wills certain things to happen for his glory, and we have to navigate life. Once we understand that we don't have control of everything, we must navigate life from the point that he gives us. We can't control that we're born male or female. We can't control what the parents we was given. We can't control the economic status that we're born into, but we can control what we do once we get on this earth. So here it is. A family friend molested me. This female molested me. I was a young boy, and from that point forward, I was never the same. I went from playing with my G.I. Joes, I went from playing with my He-Man and Castle of Grayskull, being a regular kid, to all of a sudden I was woke. I was looking at little girls' crotches. I was looking at grown women walk past me, and I'm looking at their hips and butt. It's like something woke me up, and I was never the same innocent little boy. And some of the people would say, yeah, that was snatched from you, and that's a horrible thing. And I agree. It was horrible, but I refuse to let one moment in time dictate who I will be. However, I will use all that darkness for God's glory. So with that being said, I had this dream. It was an interesting dream. And in the dream, I was training these young people. They were like in their early 20s, late teens. And I was training them how to use these different superpowers. I know it sounds crazy. And as I was training them, this group of people, was about 4 of them, I said, attack me. And we were training. And as they attacked me, this black venom, this stuff like the Venom Spider-Man suit, started coming out of my body, and it was like tentacles, and it was knocking them around, and they couldn't even handle me. And I woke up from the dream. When I woke up from the dream, God explained to me that that venom, that darkness that was coming from me, was things that I endured before I knew him, and that how he was weaponizing that sin, that darkness. And so I said, okay, that's where the Player Chronicles come from. I'm going to let God weaponize all my faults for his glory. So let's dive into it. So after I was molested, y'all, I was staring at women, but I really wasn't making any moves. And there was this young lady who used to come visit her grandparents that lived across the street from me every summer. And every summer we would have this summer fling. I was really feeling this girl. She was a cute little girl, and I was feeling her. And as we got older, it went from us just kissing to touching each other and rubbing each other, and time went on, and we would do this every summer, and then she'll disappear all through the school year, and it was something I always anticipated in the summer. Time moves on. I just graduate 8th grade. In the summer of 8th grade, I end up losing my virginity willfully from a young lady that lived 4 doors down from me. And we end up having my first daughter. But within that interaction that we were having, she ended up telling me something after we kept having these different sexual encounters, and she ended up telling me that she had sex with my best friend. And that crushed me, that hurt me. I didn't even know what to do with that information. I was mad, I was enraged, I was mad at him, I was mad at her, and I ended up stopped talking to her. I just stopped dealing with her. I didn't want to have nothing physical to do with her again. And I went on and went to high school that next year, or that after the summer went by, and here I am in high school. I'm all excited. I'm meeting new people, and you know how the freshman year is. You know, people trying to make you look like you're a fool, throwing pennies at you. You know the whole thing. But I'm just super excited, and I end up seeing the young lady who used to come to my house during the summer to visit her grandparents. She went to that high school. I didn't know that. And I'm all excited, like, ooh, now this could be my girlfriend. I'm all innocent about this. So I start talking to the cats that was there before me, because she was 1 year older than me. So I'm like, hey, what's going on with her, y'all? What's up with Shorty right here? And, you know, some of my guys that was there before me, like, hey, man, I don't even know how to tell you, man. That's the high school whore. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, all the folks been through her. And I was broken. My countenance was all long. My jaw hit the floor, and I was crushed. After that, I made a vow to myself that I will never be faithful to a woman again. That women ain't nothing, and I'm just gonna get what I want from them, point blank. That's it. No love, no feelings, and that's exactly what I did. So a lot of women probably that I took virginities from and hurt all through high school. Now you got a little background of why I did what I did. I apologize, but I did what I did because I was hurt. And eventually, to be totally honest with you, as I started becoming this quote unquote player, I found myself really starting to despise women even more. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I'm looking at these women that got boyfriends, that's married. I started sleeping with grown women. I started sleeping with some of my guys' moms. I was wilding. I was sleeping with my guys' sisters and cousins, and I had no rules to the game because I was hurt. And the more I did this, the funny part is, the more I just did not honor women. I looked at them side eye because I felt like some of them had men, and they were cheating on their men with me. They were creeping with me, and I was just like, see, this is why you can't trust women. And it actually just fortified how I felt about women until that ended up turning into a hate. Now, to be totally honest, at that point in time, I didn't realize, but I hated women. Not to the point I didn't want to be with them, but I hated their flakiness. I hated how they said they was feeling this dude and would be with another dude. In my eyes, remember, I'm not saved. I'm in the world. I'm in the middle of Inglewood. We was doing what we was doing, and women was the target of our affection. It was the target of us playing games, and it was just crazy. It was crazy, and I was in the midst of that. Let me tell you a little something about men. It's easier for us to play than it is to be serious, because to us, all of this is a game. Think about it. When we play with our G.I. Joes, it was a game, you know. We got to have the G.I. Joes beat up Cobra. And then we went to video games, and that was a game. We started playing Tecmo Bowl and all these different games where as long as we understand the rules, we can understand how to win. Until we got into life, and no one told us, in a sense, this is kind of a game. And so no one told us the rules, or some of us that didn't know the rules, we were being played, we were losing, and then we was like, oh, this is a game, just like my video game. And we shifted into, I'm not gonna take this serious, I'm just gonna play. And as long as a man can understand the rules to win, we want to play, especially if we think we're good at it. Now, some men play basketball, that's their game. Some men play stocks, there's their game. Some men like to play with real estate, like Life is Monopoly, that's their game. And some men play women, That's their game, unfortunately, ladies. But a lot of this was coming out of my pain. Now, I say all this to say, because I start thinking about, when you think about black single families, to be totally honest, I looked up this number as a 2018, only 13% of black families is made up of a 2-income family. We're not even talking about married, just 2 parents in the house providing. It's only 13% in a black family. That means the majority of families is raised by a single parent, which typically means they got to get help from the village. That typically mean they got to put her at grandma's house or baby house or whoever house. And during that time, because the provider, the mother, whoever got to go to work and maybe work a couple of jobs to provide, now the kids are supervised by what we call family, but all family don't have your best interest, and this is not spoken of in the black community. And we know we got that strange uncle that lives in the basement, still putting his name on an orange juice named Ray, touching kids, touching family members, and we don't necessarily prosecute Ray. We just try to keep the kids. Don't go down in the basement. You know how your Uncle Ray is. Yeah, he's a pedophile. And a lot of us were touched. It's the reason for us being so sexually hyper. That's the reason why we had kids so early. All of that opened us up. Like I said, I was touched as a young boy and my eyes became opened up. The same thing happened to other people, and we want to know why our nation, our social climate, why our community is going through what it's going through, and we got to address these things. We got to address these things, and we got to do better. But I just wanted to say that because that is one of many reasons why you may see in the black community this sexual hyper culture. So let's move past that. As I was dealing with this hate, at that time I didn't know it was hate. I was just playing a game. Remember, this is the 90s, and this is where Dr. Dre and Snoop came out and Death Row, and they was just fortifying in my heart and Too Short that women ain't nothing but, you know what I mean, and cocktails and all these different rap songs was only strengthening already what I had believed to be true in my own heart. And I absolutely went on a terror all through high school. It was bad. It was really bad. And I started losing myself in it. As I began to lose myself to lust and sex, what ended up happening to me is that sex became an idol. And people were like, well, how do you know when you have an idol in your life? Let me give you a couple of clues if you have made something an idol. Not just sex, anything can be an idol. If you wake up to get better at that thing, if that thing make you feel alive, if that thing make you identify that's who you are, if that thing brings you joy, then more than likely you worship that thing. Sex brought me pleasure. I started trying to analyze and get better of why women did what they did, how to influence a woman, manipulate a woman's emotion, how to have a woman sprung, because once she got to a certain place of being sprung, you can basically do whatever you want to her and she ain't going nowhere because you gave her an experience that she don't think she'll ever experience again. So what I'm trying to say in all of this is idolatry is something that dominates your heart and your mind. You wake up pursuing it. And this is how I know it's into idolatry. Someone would invite me somewhere, and the first thing I say is, go be some women there? Yeah, what they looking like? Or somebody say, hey man, I got a birthday party, man. What type of, you got some fine women that's gonna be there? Oh, you ain't gonna have no women? Man, nah, bro, I ain't gonna make that, pimpin'. I ain't gonna make that. Like, I lived for women. I lived for sex. I lived for the macking. I lived to play this game. If I was in a grocery store, I was in a grocery store to buy whatever, but I was also always my head on a swivel looking for that opportunity to meet somebody. And I was engulfed in my lust, and it became an idol to me. I bowed the knee to it. Now that's the one thing about sin. Sin always takes you further than where you want to go and never tell you how much it's going to cost till it's over. And so here I am Now I'm about 18 years old. I'm about to graduate high school. And now I have a child. I had a child at 16, and someone else said they had a child by me, and then after she had the child, told me that it wasn't my child. We'll revisit that at another time. But all of this left me in a place where now I was numb. I was numb to women, what they really wanted. I was numb to a woman saying, I feel like you mistreated me. I was numb to a woman saying, you broke my heart. None of that moved me. It was so bad when I was in high school, I was dating 3 girls at the same time. I'm going to my locker and all 3 girls is standing there at my locker. And they be like, oh, so you go with her, you go with her. And now you will have to choose. You're going to have to choose. I'm thinking they saying they all will leave me alone. They telling me I'm going to have to choose. And I'm sitting there, a little crowd is forming because of all this commotion. And I'm sitting there looking at all these women. They say, so which one you want? I grabbed my books out of my locker. I walked away. I said, I don't want none of y'all. And walked away. My heart was growing cold and callous. And I started identifying with something I did well. That's an interesting thing. When you do something well, you think that's what you are. This reminds me of the story of Cain and Abel. The Bible talks about Abel offered something. He offered a calf from his flock because he was a shepherd unto God. But Cain was a farmer. And Cain was awesome at making awesome fruits and plants. And the Bible says that Cain gave God his best of the fruit that he had, but God rejected it. And Cain became mad. And he became mad because he was like, well, I'm giving you my best and you're rejecting me? And God said, if you do right, will you not be accepted? Basically saying, you know what I really want. You can't give me what you want to give to me because you're good at it. And that's how we are. Sometimes we identify with the thing we're good at, even though it may bring pain to others, even though we know it ain't right, even though that's why you think cats in the hood sell drugs, because they good at it. It's gonna make them money and they good at it. When people find out they're good at something, it's hard to let it go. And that right there is dangerous, because if you identify with something that can hurt you and others, you end up being typically the source of God's wrath. So, hey, listen, that's all I'm going to give you this week. We're going to talk a little bit more about this. You better stay tuned. We're going to keep going with the Player Chronicles. And I'm telling y'all know some people y'all know needs to hear this, needs to be set free from some of these things that we dealt with, that we never talk about it. And hearing what the church won't say, we're going to continue to deal with it and talk about it. Hey, don't forget to share, don't forget to like, and we're going to continue to talk about this next week on the Players Chronicles. Love y'all.